Hey guys, in this video we'll be discussing about iteration protocols in JavaScript. So in order to define iteration behavior of any object, we need to follow two protocols. First one is Iterable protocol and second one is Iterator protocol. So Iterable protocol lets us create or change the iteration behavior for any JS object, and Iterator protocol allows us to generate values that are iterated over. So a while back I was once asked this question in an interview which said, you need to alter the native JS array such that while iterating on any instance using for/of loop, only even occurring values are iterated over. At that time I was not able to do it, but after coming back home searching for answer, I found that the hint was already present inside the question, and the hint was for/of loop. So I have this array declared here, and if I expand this array, you can see right towards the bottom, you can see Symbol.asyncIterator being implemented here. So this is the key and it has a function attached to it. And that is why when we do I of A, it's here, we are able to iterate over its values. So Iterable protocol says that we can create or change the iteration behavior of any JS object. Since array is a JS object, we can easily override its iteration behavior to resolve that question that was asked in the interview. So I have the snippet here with me. I've declared an array here and then I'm doing for/of loop over it. And when I run it, I get these entries outputted. So let's try to implement that interview question that we had. So I'll simply override the property which was symbol.iterator and I'll assign a function to it. And let's just run it as of now and see what happens. So when I run it, it says that the result of symbol.iterator method is not an object. So it expects an object. So let's just return an empty object here and see what happens now. And when I run this, it says that undefined is not a function. So it's trying to search for a function inside the object that we are returning. And that is where Iterator protocol comes in. So Iterator protocol says that the object should have a next method which should return an object, and the object can have two keys, done and value. So two things are here now. If done is true, the loop will exit, and if done is false, the loop will keep on iterating over the value. So just focus on two things here. First thing is at line number 3. We are overriding the Iterable protocol. And at line number 5, we are returning an object that has a next method which actually defines that we are actually providing Iterator protocol to this particular object. So let's implement our logic here. I'll create a variable ci which says current index. It will be initialized with -1, and here I'll increment ci once, and not here but inside this next function I'll check for the overflow condition. If ci is greater than equal to this dot length, return an object with done as true, else return an object with done as false and value as this current, this ci. Let's try to run this. So we have ci++ and let's just run this. So here we can see every value is being iterated over, but the question said that only even occurring values should be iterated. So here instead of plus, I'll do plus equal to 2, and then if I run it again, now I get only even occurring values. And this is how we can override the existing Iterable protocol for an array. So I also want to mention that instead of this Iterator protocol that we've implemented, we can also use generator functions, and it's much more intuitive and easier to write and also read. So let's try that as well once. So I'll comment this out and I'll override this with a function generated here. I'll add a star and everything would remain the same. I'll just add a loop here which will end if the overflow condition is met, and I'll simply do return, else I'll keep on yielding the result, which is this CI. And other things I can just remove. And now one more thing is left, CI plus equal to 2. And now if I run it, I get the same output again, but this time using the generator function. So what about objects? If we try to do the same thing using an object, obj, and we run it, we get an error that obj is not iterable, which means that there is no iterable protocol being implemented here, or it's being not followed. So using the same thing, I can do Symbol.asyncIterator, and it'll be a function. Function. And then if I run it, we don't get that error, but we get back to the first error that we received when we were overriding Symbol.iterator method of the array. So let's suppose we just want to iterate over entries which are starting with 0, 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in simple way, what we can do is we can have a prefix. First of all, I'll just copy this stuff here, and instead of this iterator protocol, I'll just use generator protocol here and star. I'll say CI equal to -1 and prefix equal to 0, 0. And instead of -1, I'll start with 0 because it starts with 0, 0, 1. And here I'll simply do CI plus plus, and I'll check if CI is in this, like if key exists inside this particular object. If it does exist, that means, sorry, not in this. If it does not exist, I'll just need to exit the loop. Otherwise, I'll simply yield prefix plus CI. That's it. Now let's run this. And hopefully it should work. And it does not. Let's see why. So we have a while loop here. We have prefix CI, p plus plus the CI, and my bad. So it should be, let's let k is equal to prefix plus CI and k. Let's do k here. And if I run this time it ran perfectly fine. Entry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is how you can override or create a new iterable object. You just need to implement the iterable protocol, and please use function generators. They were introduced in ECMAScript 2015 and they are pretty helpful and a lot better to read upon. So in a nutshell, to make an object iterable, you need to define a function with the key as symbol.iterator inside an object. That function can be either a generator function or should return an object that implements iterator protocol. That's it. Besides for off, we also have for await off loop that allows us to perform iteration asynchronously over any object. Every value that is iterated over is actually a promise that is resolved. And to make any object asynchronously iterable, the key needs to be symbol.asyncIterator instead of symbol.iterator. And the function can be async and return a promise. We can also either use a generator function, async generator function, or an async function that returns an object which follows the iterator protocol. That's it. Let's take a look at an example now. So I have this piece of code ready with me. The only thing that I need to do is that make a remote call to fetch some data. And then I also need to make this as async iterator so that this await works correctly here. So I'll simply do async iterator, I'll make this function as async because I'm making a remote call here. And then here I'll fetch the ID. And then I'll fetch the data, like response, get to do ID. And then I'll simply yield res.json. And now if I run this, everything is fine. Res.json is not a function. Oh, I need to add a wait here. Then it gives me the data being fetched, and this is for await off loop. So that's it, guys. That's it for the video. Just wanted to discuss these two type of iterator patterns, async and sync. See you in the next video.